Good morning. Happy Craft Roulette Day, or day after Craft Roulette Day. It was a very interesting parameter list this week. So the project is a card for somebody you care about, or think highly of, I forget. Anyway, it's something like that. The color scheme is Christmas tree, which has been widely interpreted as any color you want, which is definitely what I'm doing with some of these, like pinks and yellows and oranges and teals, because, Christmas trees have ornaments and multicolored lights. So I did sort of cut a base panel here. Anyway, let me think. The element is a wreath, and the other item is a hand-drawn border. And I picked up these really neat metallic Sharpies, so I think I'm going to do a hand-drawn border on this layer with those, or the same way I usually alcohol ink edge, and then I'm going to stamp. And I need some thank you notes, or rather my mother does. So I found this really nice Gina K thanks that I think will fit really well on one of these slightly smaller card panels. And then I remembered I had this Catherine Pooler stamp set of cranes and other, folded paper creations that would really, I think, be pretty cool to go with it. And if I arrange them around the thanks, it will be a wreath. We'll be good to go. I really haven't made a stamped card in a while, so I was kind of intrigued to do that. I also wound up with some pattern paper scraps, so we might do something on the inside, like do sort of, you just can't see that, do like maybe a side piece, or cut these in half and do, put one piece at the top and one piece at the bottom, because then you can sort of pull that color palette inside. So I think the first thing to do is to get this squared away and start laying out our stamps. I think we're going to go with thanks in the middle. This is the smaller of the two card panels, so I'm working on it. The other one should be fine as long as it fits on this guy. I'm going to grab, I'm going to start with the flower because it's kind of the biggest piece. So I think we'll add the flower right on the side. We'll more loosely interpret wreath for the purposes of this card panel being kind of on the smaller side. So we'll have and then maybe we won't quite do that. What if we do, let's put this guy in the upper corner. Maybe this guy in the bottom corner. And I'm not sure, I guess this is like a butterfly. I don't think I have room for it on the panel, so I think I will just leave this like this. And then we can go in and do a little bit of coloring. So let's just see. So I had this lined up with the 5, so we will put that back. At the 5, make sure this looks like it's a little off center, isn't it? 5 1/4 maybe? Yeah, it's a little off the other. course I did it halfway in between. 5 1/8. Yeah, 5 1/8 for this one. Now the question we really have is if we want to use a ink color other than black. I think I'll go with black. This is get a little excess off the door. Not pushing too hard, just pushing lightly. And see how we did with our measurements. We won't double stamp, but if we do, we always have another side here we can go to. That looks pretty good. It's like these are new stamps, thus they need a little more love than if we had a well-worn one, because some of the ones we have we've been using for quite some time. And there we go. First panel is done. We will let that dry for a second. And so this, I think we want a little more in this direction. Or what does 5 look like? 5 is too far. 5 1/4. Yeah, 5 1/4 looks good. These look pretty good, other than the thanks, so I'm going to just re-ink the thanks a bit and do that a couple more times. One of the things I do like about stamped cards is, like, with stuff like this, it just becomes, there we go, pretty easy to do multiples of the same card, especially if you don't have to move your stamps around. But even if you do, you can take more of like an assembly line approach to it, which can be nice if you need a lot of cards of some sort. So let's just clean this off a little bit, and now get to coloring these guys. See what colors we think Christmas color, tree colors would be. I do like the idea of a green of some sort. This is a fairly foresty green, so let's pull that. It's kind of a cardinal red, I think. Whatever color this, magenta. Maybe more of an orangey color, since there's some orange in the card base. There's sort of an orangey color in the card base, so maybe use these two for the two birds, and then more of a purple maybe for the flowers, whatever this guy is. This is blue. So kind of these colors. See how we like this as we go. So this is, I'm going to go for a light coat on the exteriors here. We're going to like the outer petals as they were. Kind of keep this as a fairly light color, and then go for a darker version of the color on these inner petals. Since this is geometric, it would actually be really fun to color with alcohol markers too. Let's see if we have a, this looks like a brown. It's a brown. Yeah, burnt umber. Work on our purple bird. The bird of purple wing. Maybe an orange beak. Oh, I do like that idea. I'll give them an orange beak. And maybe if we have more of a blue, to sort of do purple and blue together. This is sort of whatever this peacock blue, which like you probably have seen in a bunch of art videos, because I believe this is the color a lot of people like to use to do sort of underpainting drawings. That's probably not the correct term, but sort of like it's, some people like to use it in sort of under sketches. That one done. And I'm thinking about rounding the bottom corners of all of these layers, because I do really kind of like that as a look. In any event, we can color our other panel. This one, I think, stamped a little bit cleaner. Although each one has a little bit of a different vibe to it. Now, I did pick up some Memento ink, so if we do decide to start experimenting with alcohol ink, we have a black that isn't going to bleed or do any weird things. Then we will come in with our brown for the stem, and we'll do a little green on the leaves. We can maybe switch this up with a different color. Let's do a yellow flower. Maybe yellow, and then use that orange for sort of the inner petals for a little contrast. There we go. And I almost forgot, I wanted to use these gold Sharpie to just do a little bit of a hand. Kind of like if I was ink blending, I'm basically just putting the edge of the marker against the paper and going back and forth. And because this is sort of a hand-drawn element, it doesn't really, like, we're not really going for perfect, we're going for, like, a little quirky. See, sort of, actually I'll do a little more on this corner here. The interesting thing about these metallic Sharpies is they don't really bleed. I guess since we did that, we probably won't. Well, we could. Let's just grab our corner rounder quick. Let's round, we'll go kind of the one in the middle. It's a slightly less aggressive corner, but we'll do one each way. And decide which we like. Can go and this guy slightly, and then round off the card base. So we basically have a bit of a rounded look. And this is the square one. I think I want to round the bottom of the card base too. I don't really like that. Since it's so subtle, it's more of, it doesn't look intentional. It looks more like an oopsie, so there we go. Eventually. A wreath of origami around our thanks. They're for special people. And we have Christmas tree colors because purple, orange, like these are all colors you might see in ornaments on a tree. And it's nice because it sort of calls back to the colors in the actual card base. I like the rounded one slightly better, but I like both of them, so I think I'll keep them the way that they are. So really all we need to do is stick this guy together with some tape. I'm really liking this AdTech glue runner lately because it's pretty easy to use and it seems to have more adhesive than the double-sided tape I was using. This is always a little tricky to try and like make sure you know where your rounded corners are when they're not all of them, but you know. Sort of do that. Go about where we want this. I did cut a smaller mat than I normally would for the center of the card. I just wanted the pattern paper to show up a little bit better than it was doing. Because it's, this is actually from the Time Offline paper pad, and it has some really neat stuff in it. You get some bling with the edging detail that we did, and you know. This stuff also comes off my mat a lot easier than the double-sided tape, which is nice. Anyway, so here we have the two versions of this week's Craft Roulette card, and I like both of them. I think I like the rounded corners, and I like the foil detail on the pattern paper here a little bit better, but, you know, I think they're both pretty neat. Here I don't know if this teal, like, works as well with the background as I wanted it to, but, you know, I'm certainly going to use both of these as thank you notes. And thanks for checking it out.